Hello and welcome to Quiz Time. I'm Jess, and today our quiz is all about Europe. So, do you know your European cities and facts? Let's find out. Which European city is famous for its medieval architecture and has a working astronomical clock installed in 1410? Prague, Czech Republic, Vienna, Austria, or Bruges, Belgium? That's Prague in the Czech Republic. Which European country has Transylvania, famous for vampire legends and its connection to Vlad the Impaler? Hungary, Romania, or Bulgaria? Romania. The Alhambra, a historic Islamic palace and fortress, is located in which Spanish city today? Seville, Granada, or Toledo? That's Granada. Which European island has unique Neolithic stone structures called nuraghi, built during the ancient Bronze Age? Sicily, Sardinia, or Corsica? Sardinia. Bohemia, an important historic region in Europe, is now a part of which modern-day country? Czech Republic, Slovakia, or Austria? Czech Republic. Which European capital built on 14 islands with 50 bridges is called the Venice of the North? Copenhagen, Denmark, Stockholm, Sweden, or Amsterdam in the Netherlands? Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Kozenberg, famous for its 7 bridges problem, is now called what after becoming part of Russia? Kaliningrad, St. Petersburg, or Vladivostok? Kaliningrad. Which European river flowing through 4 capital cities is the second longest river on the entire continent? Danube, Rhine, or Volga? It's the Danube. Ephesus became home to the Temple of Artemis, and it's located in which present-day European adjacent country? Greece, Turkey, or Italy? Turkey. The Pannonian Basin, known for its rich farmlands, is a major geographical feature of which country? Croatia, Serbia, or Hungary? Hungary. The Welica salt mine, with underground chapels and sculptures, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site in which country? Poland, Germany, or Austria? Poland. Which European city celebrates White Nights every year, marking the period when the sun barely sets? Oslo, Norway, St. Petersburg, Russia, or Helsinki in Finland? St. Petersburg in Russia. The historic region of Galicia is divided between which 2 modern-day European countries in the present day? Poland and Ukraine, Austria and Germany, or Spain and Portugal? Poland and Ukraine. Which European city is home to the world's oldest operating university, which was founded back in 1088? Paris, France, Oxford, England, or Bologna, Italy? Bologna, Italy. The rock-hewn churches of Ivanova, a UNESCO-listed site, are found in which southeastern European country? Bulgaria, Greece, or Romania? Bulgaria. Which European country has a region called Lapland, famous for reindeer and connections to Santa Claus legends? Sweden, Norway, or Finland? Finland. Which European city has a cathedral containing an astronomical device that predicts equinoxes with remarkable precision? Strasbourg in France, Cologne in Germany, or Milan, Italy? Strasbourg in France. Which European island is home to Hypogeum, a prehistoric underground temple dating back over 5,000 years? Crete, Cyprus, or Malta? Malta. Which ancient European city, now a UNESCO site, was buried under volcanic ash during the eruption of 79 AD? Pompeii in Italy, Herculaneum in Italy, or Delphi, Greece? Pompeii in Italy. Which European country has a castle called Bran, often associated with Dracula, despite its uncertain historical link? Hungary, Slovakia, or Romania? Romania. Which European lake located between Switzerland, France, and Italy is the largest in Central Europe? Lake Constance, Lake Geneva, or Lake Maggiore? Lake Geneva. Which European city has the Hundertwasserhaus, a colourful, irregularly shaped apartment building designed by an artist? Vienna, Austria, Berlin, Germany, or Barcelona, Spain? Vienna in Austria. Which European fortress, one of the world's oldest, is still in use, has never been taken by force? Edinburgh Castle, Neuschwanstein in Germany, or Holstenberg in Austria? Salzburg in Austria. Which European country is home to the oldest continuously operating brewery, dating back to the year 1040? Germany, Belgium, or the Czech Republic? Germany. Which European island has a mysterious Bronze Age civilization that left behind disc-shaped clay tablets, still undeciphered? Crete, Sardinia, or Cyprus? Crete. Which European bridge completed in 1357 aligned with numerology and was commissioned by a Holy Roman Emperor? Charles Bridge, Prague, Ponte Vecchio in Florence, or Tower Bridge, London? Charles Bridge in Prague. Which European country has the town of Alberello, known for its unique conical-shaped stone houses called trulli? Italy, Spain, or Greece? Italy. Which European forest steeped in folklore is believed to inspire many fairy tales like Hansel and Gretel? Black Forest, Germany, Ardennes in Belgium, or Białowieża in Poland? Black Forest in Germany. Which European country has a cave monastery called Peszerska Ława, where monks lived underground for centuries? Ukraine, Georgia, or Serbia? Ukraine. Which European palace, built to rival Versailles, is home to the world's largest ceiling fresco? Schönbrunn, Austria, Caserta, Italy, or Wurzburg Residence, Germany? Wurzburg Residence, Germany. Which European cathedral has the world's largest unsupported dome, designed by Filippo Brunelleschi in the 15th century? Florence Cathedral, Italy, St Paul's Cathedral, England, or Cologne Cathedral, Germany? Florence Cathedral in Italy. Which European village, known for its salt mines, was an independent principality ruled by monks for centuries? Hallstatt in Austria, Rocamadour, France, or Albarello in Italy? Hallstatt in Austria. Which European museum displays the Lewis Chessman medieval chess pieces carved from walrus ivory and discovered in 1831? British Museum, Louvre Museum, or National Museum of Scotland? British Museum in England. Which European country is home to the Öresund Bridge, which connects it directly to another nation by road? Denmark, Sweden, or Germany? Denmark. Which European country has a monastery called Montserrat, located atop jagged mountains and famous for a Black Madonna? France, Portugal, or Spain? Spain. Which European fortress built in the 11th century once served as both a royal residence and a prison? Tower of London, Alcazar of Segovia, or Calstongian Castle? It was Tower of London, England. Which European country has the Ryla Monastery, known for its stunning frescoes and ties to a medieval hermit? Bulgaria, Romania, or Greece? Bulgaria. Which European capital has a palace where the crown jewels of the Holy Roman Empire are displayed today? Prague, Czech Republic, Budapest, Hungary, or Vienna, Austria? Vienna, Austria. Which European city has an ancient bridge called Ponte di Rialto, built entirely of stone during the Renaissance? Lisbon, Portugal, Venice, Italy, or Florence, Italy? Venice, Italy. Which European country has a historical region called Lusatia, home to a unique Slavic ethnic group called Sorbs? Germany, Poland, or Czech Republic? Germany. Which European cave containing prehistoric paintings of animals remained undiscovered until a storm exposed its entrance? Lascaux, France, Altamira, Spain, or Chauvet, France? Altamira, Spain. Which European city has a clock called the Glockenspiel, famous for its moving figurines reenacting historical events? Munich, Germany, Zurich, Switzerland, or Vienna, Austria? Munich, Germany. Which European country has the Pin del Viento, a modern iron sculpture set on rocks battered by ocean waves. Spain, Portugal, or France? Spain. Which European city has an underground necropolis called Catacombs of Paris, where bones were moved in the 18th century? Naples, Italy, Rome, Italy, or Paris, France? Yeah, no trick questions here. It was Paris, France. Which European country has a religion called Friuli, where a unique winemaking tradition using amphore is still alive? Italy, France, or Austria? Italy. Which European lake is home to the ancient church on an island accessible only by rowing a wooden boat? Lake Como, Italy, Lake Bled, Slovenia, or Lake Saimaa, Finland? Lake Bled, Slovenia. Which European castle, now in ruins, was once home to alchemists seeking the philosopher's stone? Heidelberg, Germany, Corwin Castle, Romania, or Neuschwanstein in Germany? Heidelberg in Germany. Which European country has a famous musical clock called Zeitellog, where figures move as time strikes? Austria, Germany, or Switzerland? Switzerland. Which European city has a church with a spire built from over 40,000 human bones arranged in artistic patterns? Krakow, Poland, Vienna, Austria, or Kutna Hora, Czech Republic? Kutna Hora, Czech Republic. Which European country has a town called Mitoria, famous for monasteries built on towering rocked pillars? Italy, Greece, or Serbia? Greece. Which European city has a library with chained books, a medieval security measure to prevent theft? Bologna, Italy, Bruges, Belgium, or Hertford, England? Hereford, England. Which European river is home to the Loreley rock linked to a legend of a siren luring sailors? Rhine River, Germany, Danube River, Austria, or Seine River, France? Rhine River, Germany. Which European capital has a bridge with a chain bridge nickname featuring massive iron links? Budapest, Hungary, Stockholm, Sweden, or Warsaw, Poland? Budapest, Hungary. Which European country has a region called Transylvania, famous for its Gothic castles and vampire legends? Slovakia, Hungary, or Romania? Romania. Which European fortress perched atop a volcanic rock has been besieged more than 20 times? Mont Saint Michael, France, Edinburgh Castle, Scotland, or Holzenburg Fortress, Austria? Edinburgh Castle, Scotland. Which European island has an ancient labyrinth myth said to house the legendary Minotaur? Crete, Greece, Sicily, Italy, or Malta? Crete in Greece. Which European city has a tower named after a 14th century astrologer who designed its astronomical clock? Ghent, Belgium, Krakow, Poland, or Prague, Czech Republic? Prague, Czech Republic. Which European city has an ancient well with a spiral staircase designed for knights on horseback? Lisbon, Portugal, Sintra, Portugal, or Seville, Spain? Sintra, Portugal. Which European cathedral houses a staircase designed by a mystery craftsman built without nails or central support? St. Stephen's Cathedral, Austria, Loreto Chapel, Portugal, or Santiago de Compostela, Spain? Santiago de Compostela in Spain. Which European village has a mysterious stone circle older than Stonehenge, aligned with the stars? Avebury, England, Carniac, France, or Callanish, Scotland? Callanish, Scotland. Which European bridge lined with statues was designed to honour the saints and kings of its country? Charles Bridge, Czech Republic, Ponte da Santiago, Italy, or Shevesian Chain Bridge, Hungary? Charles Bridge, Czech Republic. Which European city has an ancient sewer system turned into an underground museum showcasing medieval engineering? Paris, France, Rome, Italy, or Vienna, Austria? Paris, France. Which European palace has a room entirely decorated with amber panels lost during World War II? Catherine Palace, Russia, Schönbrunn Palace, Austria, or Versailles in France? Catherine Palace in Russia. Which European town has a street named Parliament Street, measuring just 25 inches at its narrowest point? Rothenburg, Germany, Bruges, Belgium, or Exeter, England? Exeter, England. Which European country has a prehistoric site called the Karnak Stones, featuring thousands of aligned standing stones? Spain, Ireland, or France? France. Which European capital has a palace called Amalienborg, where the changing of the royal guard is a tradition? Stockholm, Sweden, Oslo, Norway, or Copenhagen in Denmark? Copenhagen, Denmark. Which European fortress is known for its dramatic position on a rocky cliff overlooking a river gorge? Predjama Castle, Slovenia, Alhambra in Spain, or Eltz Castle, Germany? Predjama Castle, Slovenia. Which European castle has a balcony where a famous ruler once declared himself king to an empty room? Pena Palace, Portugal, Holzlölen Castle in Germany, or Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany? Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany. Which European town is famous for a festival where people ski while carrying flaming torches? Verbier in Switzerland, Bansko, Bulgaria, or Cortina d'Ampezzo in Italy? Verbier in Switzerland. Which European museum displays a Viking ship so well preserved that its wooden carvings remain visible? British Museum, England, National Museum of Denmark, or Viking Ship Museum, Norway? Viking Ship Museum in Norway. Which European island has a castle built on a tidal islet, accessible only during low tide? Mont Saint-Michel in France, Linden's Farm, England, or Skin Michael Island? Mont Saint-Michel in France. Which European country has a palace called Sanssouci, built by a king who preferred philosophy over war? Germany, Austria, or Belgium? Germany. Which European mountain has a railway reaching nearly 3,500 metres, offering breathtaking glacier views? Jungfrau, Switzerland, Mont Blanc, France, or Grossglockner, Austria? Jungfrau, Switzerland. Which European canal city has a leaning tower known as the Crooked Tower due to its unstable foundation? Pisa, Italy, Bruges, Belgium, or Amsterdam in the Netherlands? Pisa, Italy. Which European fortress located on a river bend was used to defend against the Ottoman Empire? Petrovaradin Fortress, Serbia, Belgrade-Shik Fortress, Bulgaria, or Eger Castle, Hungary? Petrovaradin Fortress in Serbia. Which European city has a hidden underground lake beneath its opera house, inspiring a famous novel? Paris, France, Vienna, Austria, or Milan in Italy? Paris, France. Which European bridge, rebuilt multiple times, was originally designed by a medieval artist named Taddeo Gaddi? Stari Most, Bosnia, Ponte Vecchio, Italy, or Charles Bridge, Czech Republic? Ponte Vecchio, Italy. Which European region has the monastery built into a cliff accessible only by a winding mountain path? Montserrat in Spain, Metirio in Greece, or Rila, Bulgaria? Metirio in Greece. Which European island with a prehistoric village older than Egyptian pyramids still partially intact today? Orkney, Scotland, Sardinia, Italy, or Gotland in Sweden? Orkney in Scotland. Which European castle surrounded by water was once used as a medieval prison for noble captives? Chillon Castle, Switzerland, Kronborg Castle in Denmark, or Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany? Chillon Castle, Switzerland. Which European town has a festival where flaming barrels of tar are carried through the streets? Pamplona in Spain, Basel in Switzerland, or Ottery St Mary in England? Ottery St Mary in England. Which European fortress was built with an unusual spiral ramp for knights to ride up on horseback? Alcazar of Segovia in Spain, Hohenzollern Castle in Germany, or Chateau de Chambord in France? Chateau de Chambord in France. Which European city has a street so narrow that pedestrians must turn sideways to pass? Porto in Portugal, Reutlingen in Germany, or Amsterdam in the Netherlands? Reutlingen in Germany. Which European village is known for its floating houses built on wooden stilts over a lagoon? Comecchio in Italy, Holstadt in Austria, or Sintra, Portugal? Comecchio in Italy. Which European country has a tower called the Devil's Tower, rumoured to have been cursed? Belgium, Estonia, or Poland? Estonia. Which European monastery contains an ancient library filled with secret books hidden behind rotating shelves? Admont Abbey in Austria, St. Gallen Abbey in Switzerland, or Montserrat Monastery in Spain? Admont Abbey in Austria. Which European town has a famous wine fountain where visitors can drink for free? Orvieto in Italy, Logrono in Spain, or Maribor, Slovenia? Logrono in Spain. Which European island has a cave where the Homer is said to have written part of the Odyssey? Capri in Italy, Ithaca in Greece, or Corsica, France? Ithaca in Greece. Which European capital has a square where executions once took place, now a popular meeting spot? Warsaw in Poland, Copenhagen, Denmark, or Stockholm in Sweden? Stockholm in Sweden. Which European town has a castle where Dracula is rumoured to have been imprisoned? Ponari Castle, Romania, Bran Castle, Romania, or Corvin Castle, Romania? Corvin Castle, Romania. Which European bridge has a superstition that couples who kiss on it will stay together forever? Pont des Arts, France, Bridge of Sighs in Italy, or Kappelbrücke, Switzerland? Bridge of Sighs in Italy. Which European city has an underground maze of tunnels used by resistance fighters during wars? Maastricht in the Netherlands, Naples, Italy, or Ljubljana in Slovenia? Maastricht in the Netherlands. Which European palace has a golden dome that was originally meant to be covered in pure diamonds? Grand Palace, Belgium, Peterhof Palace, Russia, or Sanssouci in Germany? Peterhof Palace, Russia. Which European town has a church built entirely from petrified lava shaped like Viking Longhorse? Reykjavik in Iceland, Bergen, Norway, or Akureyri, Iceland? Reykjavik in Iceland. Which European country has a castle built on a single rock in the middle of a river? Germany, Slovenia, or Luxembourg? Germany. Which European festival involves throwing oranges in a massive historical fruit battle? Fence ac Fancht, Switzerland, La Tomatina, Spain, or Ivrea Carnival in Italy? Ivrea Carnival in Italy. Which European monastery was built inside a mountain and can only be reached by climbing 600 steps? Samila Monastery, Turkey, Monastery of Ostrog, Montenegro, or Montserrat Monastery, Spain? Monastery of Ostrog, Montenegro. Which European town has a clock tower that plays a puppet show featuring historical figures every hour? Bern, Switzerland, Munich, Germany, or Bruges, Belgium? Bern, Switzerland. Which European castle has a golden roof, originally meant as a sign of divine power? Holzelen Castle, Germany, Residenz, Australia, or Goldenes, Daki, Austria? Goldenes, Daki in Austria. And your last one. Which European cathedral has a clock that rings at random times instead of following a set schedule? Strasbourg Cathedral in France, Milan Cathedral, Italy, or St. Stephen's Cathedral in Austria? Strasbourg Cathedral in France. So, how did you do today? Drop your score in the comments below and, of course, like and subscribe so you get notified every time we post a new quiz. And join us next time on Quiz Time.